Hey everyone, welcome to the Joleedo Gamescast for May 15th, 2016. I say, let's just jump into it. Loose format for the show is going to be what we've been playing throughout the last week or so, the games that have kind of hooked us, whether they're betas or demos or full retail titles, mobile games, whatever it is, we're going to cover it. Then we're going to get into some industry news. And finally, we're going to talk about some of our dreams, our pixel pies in the sky, as it were, to end the show.
And of course, as we go on with this, the format can change, the ideas can change, everything can change.
We're just making it up as we go along, okay?
Hopefully not the host. Yeah, we are just winging it, baby.
Depending on how today's recording goes, the host may or may not change. So Derek.
Yes.
What you been playing? Let's just jump right into it.
That was a smooth transition, sir.
Thank you.
I almost hate us for doing this, but looking at our fabulous show notes here, I kind of like we were joking about all the movies and how the first fresh video game movie is mobile. I guess we're going to start off with mobile games, which is so strange because I have been so adamant not to play them. I'm an old soul, man. I was fighting this whole mobile transition all the way.
Right.
But it looks like we can't really fight it anymore.
Well, and I don't know if we should. I think the mobile industry has really proven itself as, not just being like, there is the stigma that, well, is true in a lot of cases of free to play.
Mm-hmm.
And how each game is kind of catered to this almost slot machine mentality just to keep you putting in quarters. But, in this case, it's, 99 cents through iTunes or the Android store, But I think recently mobile has really proven itself.
So far, it's just the future is a little worrisome because, again, I'm stubborn. Like, I just want to pay my $50-$60, whatever, and have my game to play. I don't want to have to deal with microtransactions or buying energy or jewels or whatever the game presents for me to buy to be able to play for longer periods of time. So I know it's going to change over a long period of time, but I don't know. I'm just
you'd rather
struggling
not
through this.
You'd rather not spend the money to for like the gold and the XP that you would normally earn that then you in turn spend.
Right. And I don't think it's such an issue right now because the games I've played haven't been titles that are really important to me or things that I really love, like Terra Battle. Terra Battle's what I've been playing. It's a new IP, so I don't really have that connection. Like, great game, I'm really enjoying it, and I'll talk about that in a second. But like, I'm fine with that. Like, okay, sure, new IP. Let's try this free to play model. But then, and I'm sure we'll get into this a little bit later. But Nintendo, they're moving into mobile, so they're going to start taking these franchises that we love, like Fire Emblem. That we heard recently is going to become one of their free to play titles, and that scares the crap out of me because, like, I love Fire Emblem. I just want to be able to play the game. If they have these little jewels or whatever it is that I have to buy in the game to play for longer periods of time, like, I'm just going to be so upset. So it's just right now. Again, it's okay for now. For the few games that I've played, I can deal with it, but when it gets to be a title that matters to me, then we'll see what happens.
Right. So does the fear come from you think that Nintendo is not just utilizing the Fire Emblem IP into some other genre or some other like spin on the Fire Emblem franchise, but rather you're afraid that they're going to kind of port over the mechanics of Fire Emblem, but then nickel and dime you.
Yeah, and again, we're going on reports that don't really go into much detail, but from the report that I read,
we know for sure is that Fire Emblem is coming to mobile. We do not know what form, so all we really have is our fear.
Right, and looking at how Fire Emblem plays, it seems like, quite honestly, the perfect kind of title to move to mobile. I would totally play Fire Emblem on mobile because you don't need. It's not like you need analog sticks or anything to play. It's just tap, click, choose, attack, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it sounds perfect, great, mobile. But then they're like free to play. Oh God, does that mean like I'm going to be able to play a battle? And then I've got to wait 5 minutes for my energy to load back up or to refuel or whatever. And so I have to like just pull out my phone every 30 minutes and play a battle and then wait or spend $5 and buy some jewels. And oh God, that's like that scares me. And maybe I'm being paranoid over nothing. Maybe it'll turn out just fine.
Well, I think there's also a reason why Nintendo is trying to coin the term free to start.
Yeah.
And we've seen some of these free to start titles on 3DS. They've been experimenting for a little while, last year or so. I thought Pushmo, I think that's the version on 3DS. There are multiple iterations of different titles in that series: Crashmo, Pushmo, Stretchmo. And I think the one I'm thinking of is Pushmo. But what they did with the latest entry in that was they released the first handful of levels. Pushmo's a puzzle game. So they released the first handful of puzzles for free. It's kind of like a glorified demo. And then they said, hey, listen, if you really like what you played, for $5, $10, $20, whatever it is, you can unlock all these other puzzles. If not, thanks for playing. Now, what if Fire Emblem was structured more like that, where it was you have your tutorial, maybe the first chapter or two were free so that you could dip your toe in the water, and then you're prompted with, well, if you want the rest of the game, it's $30.
See, I'm totally fine with that because I really wish they would bring demos back. I want to see more demos, and that's basically what that is.
I mean, we grew up with a lot of demos. I remember, was it the official Xbox magazine that used to pack in like a DVD of all these new demos every month?
Oh, because, I'd go pick up the magazine, all the games.
Well, Xbox Live wasn't really a thing at the time. So that was the only way you could get something new if you weren't going to go buy something, that you could try these other games out. And while like demos are pretty much non-existent right now, we have kind of entered this era of like betas.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I kind of love that. I love, like we'll get into Overwatch later, but like the Destiny beta, which came out, I think it was June, the year they came out. Right after E3, they put out like an alpha or something.
Yeah. And
you could just play what amounted to like 25% of the game.
Oh yeah.
But you could play around, screw around on Earth.
That's another discussion.
Go through the first few chapters, get a taste of multiplayer, get a taste of the PvE, single player or group play content. And that was great. And I fell in love with Destiny immediately because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally for the idea. I like that model. But whether or not they're going to stick with that with all the IPs, I mean, we'll see. Again, everything is speculation at this point. That's what's so tough to talk about, is we really just don't know anything yet. We're just getting these little tidbits here and there and trying to make our best guesses because we're paranoid and freaking out and we want to know right now.
And what you're afraid of with Fire Emblem is you don't want to bring your team into battle and you lose one of your guys and you're prompted with, would you like to revive them right now without restarting for 99 cents?
or if they go with like the hardcore mode with Fire Emblem, your player is now dead permanently. However, for just 99 cents, or $2.99, you can revive this player and you won't lose them. Oh my God. God forbid that happens. And God willing, if that happens, I have insurance on my phone because I'm going to smash my phone against the wall. Oh, that is just terrifying.
Now, so I think I share your fear, your fears with Fire Emblem. I do think it is kind of one of the few like perfect Nintendo IPs to make the transition successfully over to mobile, just because like already on 3DS, like you have touch controls. You can kind of plan out your movements and your routes on your turn just by touch or with the stylus, or you can do it traditionally like with the D-pad or the circle pad or whatever. So I think like movement is not the question here. Yeah. The combat it's rock paper scissors, so it's not like there's going to be some like crazy like button mashing or like I don't have physical buttons. How am I going to play this? Fire Emblem is not that game to worry about. But I think like, are we just talking about it's free to download with DLC that you pay for, or is it like every chapter you have to throw out $2 or $5? But I have no problem with that, especially if it's a traditional Fire Emblem game just on mobile that where there aren't any other compromises. If it's a new genre that they want to tackle with the IP, well then like nothing we're talking about really matters. Then
however they handle
new set of concerns.
However they handle it, I think I'll be okay with it as long as there is some kind of like cap or just go ahead and buy the game. Like if they have the option to maybe play the whole thing free, like if you wait, or if I can just, like you said, if I can just buy it for $39 and not have to worry about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's a possibility of me like spending 50, 60, 70, $80 to just play the game, then yeah, I'm going to get upset. But I digress. That is just my concern. But in the meantime, I have been playing, as you said, Terra Battle. New IP. It's from the new developer Mistwalker, which was founded by Hironobu Sakaguchi, which is the guy who kind of created the Final Fantasy series.
Right.
I had completely forgotten about this game because I saw some screenshots and I was like, oh, look, a cute little RPG mobile game.
Sure.
And because of the, I won't say drought we've been having recently with video games, but like there just hasn't been a lot that caught my interest. I decided to start playing some mobile games. So like first I jumped into Pokemon Shuffle, a little late in the game on that one. But I was having a lot of fun with that. Pokemon Shuffle's fun. It's Pokemon.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's pretty good.
It's addictive. Perfect game for mobile. I wish they would implement some more of the, Pokemon style gameplay. Like it's kind of there, but I wish they would make it a little more complex, but maybe that changes the game. Maybe that makes it a little bit less easier to pick up for people who aren't familiar with the Pokemon series. So like I've been having fun with that, but then I decided to try Terra Battle. I forgot where I saw it. Maybe I saw an advertisement for it in Twitter or something that reminded me of it. Man, I got to tell you, I am absolutely loving this game. This is why I woke up. What was it, like 1:30 this afternoon? Because I stayed up till 5 a.m. playing Terra Battle. And might I say, they seem to handle those little tiny purchases well in this game, because I am able to stay up playing that game for hours. It's not like I can play it for 30 minutes. And maybe that's also just because I'm very early in the game. I'm sure once I figure other stuff out, like I'm going to use up all my energy a lot faster. But yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead. What, yeah.
No, I was just going to ask if you could describe what kind of game it is. Like, how does it play? Is there combat involved?
It's very similar to Fire Emblem, where you have your grid. But they have a really interesting gameplay mechanic in there. So you have your grid, and the enemies will be in there, and it looks kind of like a chessboard, and you move one player per turn. But what's interesting is, like, when I started the game, I was like, oh, I'll just see, how do I explain it? So to attack, you have to place your characters in a pincer style attack. So basically, if you're looking at 3 squares in a row, it has to be your ally, enemy, your ally, and then they attack the enemy in between them.
You got to sandwich them in.
Right. So I was like starting off just like moving one character at a time, like moving it to a place and moving it to a place. And then the enemy attacks and move it to a place. But what I found out with the movement, which is really cool, which is what I really like about this game, is that when you move through another one of your units, that unit moves to the space that you were in before you touched them. That's kind of hard. That's kind of hard to explain over the phone. So, like, if you have two characters right next to each other, and I move one, the other character that I move through moves to the space that I was just in.
And then you keep moving.
Right, and then you keep moving. But what you can do is you can continue to move that character around. So, like, say there is a line of enemies, like 3 enemies, and I only have, you can only move one character at a time, but, oh man, this is really hard to explain. I can continue to move through another one of my characters until I strategically have moved them into an attack position, and then I can move my character into the other attack position. So if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. So your character placement is just as important. So getting that like sandwich position around an enemy, that's just as important as how you move your character to get there.
Exactly. And to add a little bit on top of that, you only have 4 seconds.
Interesting.
So this game, it's like chess, and you have the rock, paper, scissors mechanic, like Fire Emblem, like, your characters will have sword, spear, bow, magic. Okay. So you have, very similar idea, but it's strategic in the placement, but it also takes a lot of skill, to really get that movement down. 'Cause like you can like, I will try in one move. Maybe there'll be 3 enemies out on 3 separate spots of the playing field.
Okay.
And I will try to use one move to move like 4 of my characters as fast as I can into a strategic place, and then hopefully get my character back into the position I need him or her or it to be in, to like maybe try and attack 3 enemies at once. But like, if you're too slow, or if while you're moving you get caught on something, like, you might totally screw yourself, which has happened. Like, I have this huge plan, like I'm going to move like all these characters in 4 seconds, and then I totally screw everything up. I don't get in any attack positions. The enemy just starts obliterating me. So it's really, really cool. I love that mechanic. I love that style. It's very interesting. I haven't played any game that has tried something like this. So you have that mechanic. So you kind of have the Fire Emblem stuff. You have this new mechanic, and it's also kind of like Pokemon, or
okay.
A lot of the other collector games where, so like last night, what I was trying to do with all my free time, I went back to the old boss battles to try and get the boss to drop. So you defeat it, and then you have a chance of an enemy dropping. It could be like one of the base enemies, or it could be the boss.
Okay.
So I would just like replay, trying to get that boss to drop. And eventually, like, I got some cool bosses to drop for me. So now I've added them to my team. So that's part of it. So you can pick up enemies from battle, or there's also, which is, I guess, where the energy points come in, the thing you can pay for. You can go to a tavern and use your energy points to pick up new companions.
Okay.
So like all kind of different ways to pick up new characters. So I love that. I love that because that's what I love about Pokemon and Persona. Like, you gotta catch them all. Like, that's like such a perfect phrase you can use for all these games. But collecting them and like trying to go back and get the characters to drop that you want, like, that's really addictive. So that's cool. And then, it's got deep RPG mechanics where each one of your characters can be upgraded. They can learn new jobs. You can add weapons. You can add, I think they're called companions. basically little sidekick monsters can be added to them. So all kind of leveling and customization can be done to each character. So it's got a lot of elements from a lot of different genres, and it's kind of like all the things that I love. So it's really, really cool game. I love it. I've been having a fantastic time with it. Story, the story is what it is for a mobile game.
Sure.
It's kind of text based. Like before every stage that you play, you'll get a little bit of text.
Okay.
And it's fine. It keeps me kind of interested in the story. Like I want to see where it goes. It's not, it's nothing groundbreaking.
But you're more interested by the collectathon nature of it than you are.
Yeah. Yeah. The story, like that's neither here nor there. But all the gameplay mechanics, everything they're really doing with the game is just fascinating.
So Terra Battle, it's free to play.
It is free to play.
Where does the monetization come in? Like, is that part of the team building? Is it like?
Yeah, it seems like it's mostly team building. So like you have energy points every time you like go to one of the challenge levels, or they have like the weekly or monthly special events, or just your regular levels. Every time you do one of those things, it costs energy.
Okay.
And energy replenishes over time. Or, if you run out of energy completely, you can go buy more energy. So there's that. I haven't run into that issue though, just from what I've been playing so far.
Okay, that's good.
I think I only ran out of energy once, and I stopped playing for a while, and that was fine. I think the best way to use energy though, and I've got a lot to learn, and I probably need to check out a few pages on the game, but. My brain just totally shut off on me. Oh, energy, yes. So I think the best way to use energy is by collecting companions, going to the tavern and trying to get new people to join you. Because like right now they're running, and I guess it's an event. I'm still a little confused on some of this stuff, but it's like you can pick up like SS class characters a lot more easily now. So that. Spending your energy on characters seems to be more important than wasting it on trying to hurry through more levels.
Right.
So yeah, you can spend it on energy points. That's the main thing.
No, that's really cool. I haven't checked out the game yet, but I'm kind of vaguely familiar with it, and it definitely seems like, from what I've seen and from what you're describing, it definitely seems like. It's a mobile game worth playing. If you're more definitely serious about games, It's not quite like the Flappy Bird.
Oh God, Flappy Bird, classic. God, I feel bad even saying the name. I don't even want to like bring that game up. I feel bad giving it any attention at all.
But there is a big difference between these kind of clear money grab titles.
Yeah.
And something like, like Final Fantasy Record Keepers or Hearthstone or Terra Battle, where like there is some love put into this game and you have a genuinely good game despite the controversial monetization practices.
Yeah. And so, I guess we'll always have that. I guess we'll always have companies that do it right and then the companies that don't. But as far as this game goes, like I've really enjoyed it. I have not had any issues with money. I do not. I hate being the guy to say I don't plan on spending any money. Because like I do. Okay, so this is going to get into a whole nother conversation. Like I love supporting developers.
Yeah.
There have been so many indie games or just AAA games that I'll buy. I've got, my stack of shame that I haven't touched. So like I'll just buy games to support the dev, but then I feel so weird spending money on a free-to-play game. So then, I'm just totally making myself feel guilty right now.
One of my friends, we had a conversation a month or so ago, and he was talking about how he got really hooked on, I believe it's Asphalt, on Apple TV, because now the newest model.
Oh, the racing game, right?
Yeah, the racing game. The newest model of Apple TV supports games. And he's an old gamer, kind of, he doesn't have a console anymore, but whenever the opportunity arises, he has no problem, hopping back in. And Asphalt was like the right game at the right time. He had just got an Apple TV for Christmas, and he got one of the controllers that's compatible with it. So he hopped in, and that's another free-to-play game, except there is definitely this point where you've maxed out as far as you can go in terms of how you upgrade your cars. I've never played it, so I'm speaking from a place of ignorance. So I don't know how the upgrade process works or anything like that. I don't know if tracks or courses are behind paywalls, or if it's just cars and cosmetics or whatever it is. Yeah. But we had this conversation that you just mentioned where it's like, well, but what's the difference? He could drop $50-$60 on whatever upgrade it was to open up the rest of the game and allow him to keep going higher in the ranks and with a faster car and a better car and all that. But why does it feel so weird at times? When the free-to-play title is kind of a demo. Like we were just talking about how we love demos, and I really like betas. So what is the difference, and why is there that barrier with free-to-play titles still? Because I struggle with the same thing. I have no problem paying $60 every year for like some big fall AAA title on PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
But on mobile, for a game I play a whole lot, like Clash Royale, I have a very difficult time justifying clicking the button and throwing like a buck at the game to get gems or gold or whatever it is. Right. So what is that? Is that just us as like kind of like console? Like we grew up with consoles and PC where you just pay, right? You pay the entry fee, and then you have a certain set of expectations, whether it's like a campaign story length or an extensive multiplayer option or co-op option. Now we're lucky to even get co-op, like couch co-op at least.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I don't feel like, in my case, I don't feel like I'm just being, some cheap. I don't feel like I'm being a cheap gamer, in that sense. Maybe it's just what you're paying for. Like, say, Terror Battle, for example. Mm-hmm. I don't mind giving money to devs. I bought games that I don't play, so that's not an issue. But I guess what you're paying for. So, like for Terror Battle, let's say maybe if they had an optional like challenge arena that like didn't affect the game at all, but maybe it was like other secret areas where you could get these cool new companions that weren't available through the normal game. So maybe it's just like extra stuff like that. Like if I had to pay $4.99 to unlock this area, right, I would feel better about that than me paying $5, $10, $20 for energy crystals.
Okay.
And
do you think that comes down to kind of like the traditional, like the DLC method with like take a game like Call of Duty, right? Season passes, map packs, before they got into the cosmetic business. Like you kind of knew what you were paying for. You get you pay the $50 for a season pass, and you get, a handful of new guns. You get like 10 or 12 new maps. Like you kind of know what you're paying for. And when I just buy like 10 gems from a 99-cent transaction on mobile, like, is that because like I really don't know how I'm going to spend it, what it really means? Did I just throw away?
I think I just realized what it is for me. Mm-hmm. I think it's the permanence of DLC. That's the right word, right? That is an actual word. Yeah, okay. It just sounded weird when I said it. It's the permanence of DLC or items or a stage. If I put money in and I get something that's there and I have it forever, that's cool. I enjoy that. But putting money towards something that's just gone, like you use it, it's gone. Like,
and you're not.
And I guess technically, like in the game in Terror Battle, like you're getting characters that can be permanent. So I guess kinda. But then like you have games like I keep now I'm wanting to say Clash Royale. What's the first one? Brain fart.
Clash of Clans.
Clash of Clans. So like yeah, in Clash of Clans, like you're just paying to hurry stuff up. And
right.
So maybe it's what you're paying for, and I think maybe for me it's the permanence of it, because like you're actually getting something with DLC. You're actually getting something if you unlock a level. You're not really getting anything when you drop money on crystals and energy.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be like the idea plans for you. You don't want to waste your time. You just want to play. Like in the tutorial for most of these games, like even like Clash of Clans and Boom Beach and Clash Royale, like they walk you through the process of spending gems.
Yeah.
They want you to get in the habit.
Get in that habit.
Of no, you don't have to wait. Just tap the thing.
See how easy that was? And
exactly.
Now you have this thing now. Isn't that great?
You know, like Candy Crush does the same thing. Hold your hand, you know, they hold your hand through like the first handful of levels and show you, oh, here's the lollipop that like busts this candy, and here's this and here's that. And then like they take all those tools away. So then when you get stuck, you're like, oh, where's the lollipop? Oh, well, those lollipops, they cost money.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want more? You saw how easy it was. You really don't want to be stuck here much longer, right? You have more important things to do. What's 99 cents? What's $3?
Pull that slot machine.
Well, yeah, basically. I was talking to Alex because he and I both play Clash Royale. Man, I don't want to say religiously, but I haven't really been this hooked on a mobile game yet. I've played Clash of Clans for a long time, but I kind of casually play it, right? I don't, I log in nowadays. I log in once a day, maybe once, a few times a week to kind of clean up the kingdom and, start some new builds. And with Boom Beach, it's kind of turned into the same thing. I really was into Boom Beach for a while and had a blast playing it. I still do. I have a lot of fun, but Clash Royale specifically is designed to keep you actively coming back. Like you have to check in. If you want to play Clash Royale, they really pressure you to check in as much as you can throughout the day. And it's very smart. I think Clash Royale is designed much better than even Clans and Boom Beach.
Yeah, I'm watching the video of it right now because I'd been hesitant. I got so burnt out on Clash of Clans that my brother's he's the one who finally got me into it because he wanted me to play on his clan and stuff.
Yeah,
but I just got so burnt out. So I'm looking at the video. Like what are the big differences? So I'm looking at like battle decks. So it looks like you're collecting characters, or
on the surface, it almost, like when I first heard of it, I thought it was initially Supercell, the developer, like it was their version of Hearthstone. So they were just making like Hearthstone, but it was themed with Clash of Clans characters, and that's actually not what it is at all. It is basically a tower defense game. It's 1 versus 1. You play against a random player, and you have 3 towers on your side, 3 times on the other guy's side. And the object is to destroy as many towers as you can. If neither player destroys any towers, it ends in a draw. But as soon as one tower goes down, now it's kind of like a race to defeat or race to victory. And it's the decks you build. You earn cards through playing, through opening chests. And part of their chest system, I think, is what gets people hooked pretty easily. Because it's like they always, like every hour or every like hour and a half, it feels like they'll have a notification pop up. Either you'll have a free chest that they give you, or you'll have the ability to play in daily like crown chest battles, which is a series of you're trying to destroy 10 towers in a 24-hour period. when this thing is activated. And if you can destroy 10 towers from, 4 or more opponents that you play against, then you open up a chest that gives you just a ton of cards and a lot of gold and gems and all that stuff. And every victory you get, you earn a chest, and these chests have an unlock time starting at 3 hours. So if you earn a silver chest, it'll take 3 hours to unlock it. So in 3 hours from now, you're probably coming back to unlock the next silver chest. And at night, you might want to unlock a gold chest that'll take 8 hours. So it's a good chest to do, not throughout the day, but at night. And then they have a special chest called giant chests or magical chests, and those take 12 hours. And then they have, they really encourage that you're part of a clan.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering about. Yeah, what was so, cool for me, the reason I played Clash of Clans was because of my brother. So we could be in the same clan, but like just kind of looking at the gameplay, it looks more like just PvE, but there are groups and clans still.
Yeah, if you're playing Clash Royale, it is imperative that you get in a clan. Okay. Because being in a clan, not only can you kind of spar and try out new decks from different cards you unlock throughout unlocking chests or buying on their shop, but so not only can you spar with your clannies, but you can also get donations for cards that you're looking for from your clanmates. So every 8 hours or whatever, you can request cards that you need, and every card through these decks that you're building, you level them up, right? And there's a certain card level requirement. If you've ever played games like other card-based games, like last year there was the Mortal Kombat X themed card game where you would go through and you kind of play. It's it's a tapathon game, right? You're just tapping to fight. It's not a particularly good game at all, but it does encourage a lot of collecting, and the victories you get along the way, you earn cards, and the more cards you get of a certain type, you then combine them to level them up into a stronger version of that card. And that's how Clash Royale works. So you may have like skeletons, which is a really cheap creature that you can throw down at any time. The game runs off a mana system, or an elixir system is what they call it. That is constantly going up on a certain timer. So you can have cards that'll increase the elixir that you are generating, and cards kind of play with that elixir count. So a card that does very little damage or has very little health, they'll cost next to nothing, right? They'll cost like two elixir. But a card that you throw down to like really take on and challenge your opponent, something like a P.E.K.K.A. or like a giant or something, has a much higher elixir count. So you want to be careful because you only have 10 elixir to play with. You want to be careful with your placement. The wrong placement on your side of the battlefield, or at the wrong time, or if you only have 7 elixir but you play a card that requires 6, like you're at a disadvantage. So it plays very similarly to kind of Hearthstone with these like mana or elixir advantages. If your opponent plays a 3 elixir card, you want to make sure that you play something in the like vicinity of that cost in order to keep things even. If you challenge a 3 elixir card with, let's say, a 6 or a 7, and you lose, your opponent has a significant elixir advantage on you. So the strategy involved is pretty extensive. And so going back to like the request cards kind of option or a feature. So if you have skeletons and you really like playing skeletons, they're a cheap card, but you love throwing them down, you can go to your clan mates in the clan chat, and every 8 hours you can request skeletons. And they'll just keep basically throwing them at you until you can pay to level up that card to make them stronger, give them more HP. Maybe the card lasts longer or has a bigger area of effect, whatever it is. You can level up these cards. And so with this game in particular, the reason why it's hooked me is, one, it's really competitive. I like competitive games as much as they can drive me crazy, but it's very intense. Boom Beach, for instance, is not really a 1v1 game. It's attack and defense game, right? So you lobby an attack, or you lob an attack against some opponent's beach, which is basically their castle, their kingdom, for lack of a better term, with all their resource generating buildings and their defenses and all that. And you have to kind of invade their beach. You storm the beach, destroy their defenses, and hope you can, take their. I always forget what everything's called. It's like a headquarters, a town hall, a crown tower, or a king tower. It's like all these different terms you have to keep track of. And Boom Beach is the headquarters, I think. But it's a pretty passive experience, right? It's all about how you design your defenses, and then you hope it can withstand the attacks of your opponents. But you're not like actively defending it. You're not dropping cards to defend your beach.
Yeah, you just got to sit and watch when it happens.
And Clash of Clans is the same way, right? You design your kingdom, and you just hope they can't beat you. Well, in Clash Royale, like, you are playing live with another player, and so the stress and the adrenaline of that kind of 1v1 experience, like, man.
See, that sounds so much better, because that was one of the issues that I had with Clash of Clans is, like, when you're getting attacked, there's nothing you can do. And no matter how you build your base, like, people will study like base builds, and they'll be able to figure out like the best way to attack a base that's built a certain way. And then they had my brother was telling me recently, I think it was a clan in China that they had the program where they were running simulations so they could take your base, do a screenshot of it, and they had a program that would analyze the picture, I guess, and run simulations and figure out the easiest way to win the match, or to destroy the base. So, like, yeah, that I didn't really like that. I especially if it kind of frustrated me. It's like, oh, I'm getting attacked. Why can't I just maybe send out my guys? Like, say, hey, you guys go here. Like, that would have been better for me. So that sounds, I guess, crap. What's the name? Clash Battle. All these names. Clash Royale. So it sounds like Clash Royale is more along the lines with what I wanted.
Yeah, because like even you can have like the best deck combination. Each deck is made up of 8 different cards. And I forget how many cards. There are like 50 cards, maybe over 50 now with the new update. So like every deck you encounter and the ones you can build are pretty different, and you can play them very differently. You can have a very low cost deck where everything you have is just like only costs 2 or 3 elixir. So you can keep like firing off cards and just kind of your strategy is then like to overwhelm your opponent. Or you can have a really high elixir average cost for your deck, and you're really playing for the big guns. There's a new legendary card that came out in the new update called Sparky, and it's basically this tank that slowly rolls across the battlefield, and then it takes 10 seconds to charge up this huge, like, big Tesla shot. And like if it hits a tower, like half the HP is gone immediately. It can take out a mob of characters coming at you instantly. But it also has, kind of mediocre HP, so you gotta be careful that it doesn't get overwhelmed. You still need to protect it. But to play that card, like, you have to cater a deck to kind of play around that. It's really tough to just play it and surprise your opponent within a really functional deck otherwise. Like, that's usually how these decks are built, with a certain strategy in mind, right? So, and what makes it different than, let's say, Clash of Clans and Boom Beach is that it's not preset. It's always the decks you encounter, like, they're random. Anything could be in there. You're not going to know until they play. Plus, you have to think of how is your opponent going to strategize against you? How am I going to defend that attack? How am I going to prepare my attacks versus what the cards I now know that they have from watching them play? And then there's the improv factor. Just because you have this great strategy that works 9 times out of 10, every once in a while you're gonna play against a person who they've seen that combo. They've seen people run that attack before. They know exactly how to defend against that. And they're going to make sure that you're going to play that way so they can bait you in, kill your guys, and then push their own attack.
I like it.
No, it's great. Like it is one of the best, if not the best, mobile games I have played thus far.
All right, so I'm gonna have to talk to my brother and see if we can move the clan on over.
Hey, I'm just saying that Alex and we are in a top 150 clan in the U.S. Like, we take this seriously. So if you and your brother, if you want in, we'll get you in. But yeah, that's what's great about pairing up and joining a good clan with a good set of like dedicated players, is that they're going to make sure that they give you the cards that you need. So if you love playing with barbarians or goblins or whatever it is in your deck, you can keep requesting those cards. And if you got a good clan, they want you to succeed, because that only improves their rankings. And the cards you don't have, you want to give away, because you never want to upgrade the cards that you're not going to use.
Got it.
That just costs you money. And while we were talking about the free-to-play models and like monetization, I will admit, maybe publicly for the first time, Clash Royale is the first mobile game I spent money on. I know.
What?
I was surprised. And no, I didn't buy like legendary cards, or I was just
I am genuinely shocked.
No, I was shocked too.
Okay. Look, I'm definitely interested in playing this now. See if it can get me to spend money. We'll see what happens.
That's the real challenge, isn't it?
Oh man.
But yeah, it just seemed like it was worth it because of the competitive factor. Where it was like, man, if I just bought some gold so I could upgrade these cards, because it can take some time before you can upgrade cards, especially the higher level they are. Like, it kind of the requirement to get to the next level like exponentially grows. It like doubles. That's not exponentially, but it doubles like every time the card requirement plus then the gold cost. So yeah, I can have, I forget what it is. I think it's a level 8 card in order to upgrade to level 9, you need like a common card, because there are 4 different types of cards. Commons, rares, epics, and legendaries. And so common cards, you need 400 to go from level 8 to level 9. And like, I have more than 400 cards of this one, barbarians, that I use. And I'm running a little low on gold, right? But in order for me to properly compete to rise up in the ranks, like, there is definitely incentive for me to drop the $5 or whatever it is to get the extra gold to then upgrade the card so that I can keep, climbing the ranks. Now, if you're not into rank climbing, which a lot of people are not, and I usually am not, then it may not be worth it. And you can, you'll earn this stuff naturally over time anyway. Like, you don't have to spend the money. But in order to keep up with my clan, there is like a little bit of a push, an unspoken push from everyone that, well, you gotta keep the rank high. So I did that. I haven't spent much money. I think I've spent $10 on it so far total. There are some people, they have dropped thousands and thousands of dollars on this game. Oof. That is not me, right? Like, they can own the top ranks as far as I'm concerned. I would rather have, good cards and, a better strategy than the best cards, and you never really know how to play. Which occasionally you encounter those players where like, oh, this guy dropped like $200 on this deck. But like, well, let me just kill you because I'm smarter. That's the hope, at least. Other times you just get steamrolled because there's nothing you can do. The level of the cards are way too high, stuff like that. But yeah, it's really fun. Highly recommended. And like I said, it's the first mobile game to get me to drop anything on it.
And I think that's what's the most telling of everything you said. That's what's most telling for me. Like, I'm still in shock here.
Next time I'll just jump to that. We won't even talk about the game. I'll just say no, seriously, I spent money on it. A mobile game. It's crazy. What else have you been playing? Because I've been kind of, this year, 2016, I've made it a point to kind of finally tear through my backlog.
Yeah, I think we kind of both made that decision, and that's kind of what I've been doing. Just kind of going through games that I need to finish. And man, it's so tough making our way through some of these. Like one of the ones I'm trying to finish up is Final Fantasy Type 0. It's a really good game, but it is an HD port from a PSP game. So like it's good. I'm enjoying it, but like it's not really pushing me to finish it. I know I need to, but
sure.
But yeah, there's stuff like that, and some 3DS titles that I've had never finished, or even DS titles, like popped in Castlevania the other day. I forgot Order of Ecclesia. So just a bunch of random stuff. What I did play, as far as moving away from mobile, what I did play that I really loved recently was the 5-day Neo demo.
Oh man.
So let me pull up some information on Neo just so I can have that in front of me, because it's Team Ninja. They're the ones who did like Ninja Gaiden.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to see if anyone else was part of it. Oh yeah, published by Koei Tecmo, but I don't think they had anything to do with the development. But basically, it is a Dark Souls-like game, which apparently that is a new genre, a Souls-like. It's kind of like the new Metroidvania.
Yep.
A game that sparks its own genre. But it's very much like Dark Souls and Bloodborne. But what I always had a hard time with in Dark Souls, one is Dark Souls is a very slow game. Mm-hmm. So it's more about taking your time, waiting for the right moment, defense. And then what I loved about Bloodborne was it had the, really tough difficulty, like you're dying all the time, which is fun. Kind of, it's got that old school feel, that really tough challenge that I've been missing for a while. But unlike Dark Souls, Bloodborne was a much faster pace, and it awarded players who were aggressive.
Okay.
And that's kind of more along the lines with what Neo is. So Neo is that type of game, very much like Souls and Bloodborne, where you even have, instead of candles or whatever, you have shrines. So you try to make it to the next shrine. But what I love the setting. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. So one of the things about Dark Souls is that it's also set in the medieval time. It's not medieval time. It's not really an existent place, so it's not a real thing. But it's like knights and that kind of stuff.
It's got Neo. It's got that medieval aesthetic.
Yes, precisely. So yeah, Neo is set in Japan, like a long time ago, maybe like the Edo period or something. I don't remember the exact dates. But it's set a long time ago in Japan with these kind of classic Japanese demons. I can't think of the right word. Not classic. What's the word I'm going for? They're these actual beings that exist through Japanese lore. That's kind of what I'm looking for.
Okay.
So yeah, these really beautiful Japanese aesthetic, and I am a Japanophile for just so you all know, from here on out, I am a Japanophile. Everything about Japan. I went to college in Japan. I lived in Japan. My wife is Japanese. I love Japanese games. Like, I'm obsessed with Japan. Anime, all of it. Like,
and you speak Japanese very well.
And I do. So yeah. So when they announce like, oh, it's a Souls-like game set in Japan, I'm like, sold, done.
There it is.
I'm good. But Neo was really good, and yeah, they've got some things to adjust. Some of the movement mechanics. I hope they make some small adjustments. But overall, I thought it was a great experience. I know there were a lot of people who had very terrible experience with it, who just got demolished and just gave up. Even people who played the Dark Souls games.
Yeah,
and I think maybe that's less that it's not a bad game. Maybe they just need to fine tune the mechanics a little bit. So maybe that's all the issue was. But I didn't have that hard of a time. I mean, it's been a while since I played Bloodborne, so it took me a second to really get back into that there's a certain way you have to play. You can't just like run in. Like it's not like Ninja Gaiden or another hack and slash game. You can't just run up and start swinging your sword. Like you have to be smart about it. So it took 30 minutes or an hour before like I was really like comfortable again.
Yeah.
And really starting to make progress. But yeah, I love that style game. It took me, I never really got into Dark Souls, but I was like totally sold on Bloodborne. And then with this one, with the aesthetic and gameplay, like I just totally love it. I can't wait. And what's cool is that, if you played the demo and if you beat the demo, you get some kind of DLC. I'm not sure exactly what it is yet, but you play the demo and beat it, you get something for the real game, which is totally cool. I love that. I think that's a brilliant marketing strategy.
Yeah, that's good incentive.
I mean, more people need to do that. That's so smart.
Who else?
So yeah, I thought it was fantastic.
Correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't Bravely Default do that as well?
Yes.
Don't they incentivize playing the demo? And it's cool.
Right,
but at least there, like that's a unique kind of experience created.
Yeah, another example of brilliant marketing and strategy for that. So yeah, they give you this free, I guess what they released was kind of like the prologue for the full game.
Okay,
it was the ground zeros to the Phantom Pain.
Right.
So you get this unique little story, and then any items and stuff that you build up, you can carry with you to the full game. So I really hope more developers and studios will start to use that and kind of copy that model, because it's great for them, and I think it's great for players. Because you get something like you try out their game stuff, and you do get a little something for it. It doesn't need to be something huge,
right?
But yeah, you get a little something for playing and taking your time to do it, and then all of a sudden, when that game comes out, you'll remember, oh yeah, I get this free thing. If I go out and buy that game. So yeah, maybe I will go ahead and pick it up. So I'm sold. I love that strategy. I love the game, and I can't wait for it. Supposedly it's going to be 2016. I guess we'll find out at E3.
Hopefully we will find out at E3. Yeah, I am not a Souls player. I had a brief.
But I think you could be.
No. I know. Okay, so there. Oh man, I forget when this happened, but there was a point where either a demo or Dark Souls 1 was made free on PS Plus, or maybe it was a demo or a trial through Plus, something like that, where I tried that on PS3, and I spent maybe only 20 minutes with Souls 1. And I had that experience that I know everyone else does, but I didn't know what everyone else learns later. Is that if you stick with it, it'll click, and then you'll have fun with the game. Instead, I knew it wasn't God of War, right? I knew I wasn't gonna run in there, swords swinging, but I'm a player who doesn't really like repetition through a campaign. Part of the reason why some Metroidvania games haven't stuck with me too well is because of that. I just don't like running through the same area, fighting the same guys. Yeah, I don't like backtracking, which, I mean, you could claim it's a little ironic since I really like multiplayer games, and those are entirely built on playing the exact same map with the same loadout. But I think, there is definitely a level of spontaneity and improvisation that comes from playing competitively, online, whether it's Call of Duty or Halo or, Rocket League or whatever it is that you're playing. And to me, that's the difference. Yeah, the map can look the same, but I play it differently. I approach it differently, or maybe the encounters will be different. And like in a single player story, let's say, that isn't always the case, especially in a game that punishes you really early on.
Yeah.
And I feel bad now looking back on it because I fell victim to Souls. It was like, you know what? I think it was not the first enemy, but the second one that just owned me. And it wasn't funny. I didn't have fun with it. I wasn't laughing. I was just going, no, thank you. My blood pressure can't take this kind of stress. I'm not. And so I was completely.
Souls turned you into Boogie 2988 with your console. You smashed it.
Sons of bitches.
Yeah. Basically. And so like all of these games that have come out, now we're up to Dark Souls 3, which came out recently, and Bloodborne, which Bloodborne always interested me a little bit more than Dark Souls just because the aesthetic was different.
Yeah.
It was more of like a Van Helsing, Victorian, whatever it is.
Yeah, totally understand. Because for me it was this. It pulled me in as well because I was like, oh my god, Dark Souls, but it's Castlevania.
Oh yeah, exactly. So I thought that was interesting, even though I didn't play or I haven't played Bloodborne yet. Let me change how I speak about Bloodborne, because now, after my time spent with Neo, I am now I get it. And the same thing happened. I tried out Neo. I downloaded the demo beta. Anyway, same thing. I downloaded the beta like the day it came out, and I tried it late that night. And I played, and I knew going in, okay, I just gotta stick with it. I know it's gonna kick my ass a little bit, but that's okay. That's part of the process. We're gonna have fun. And like I played a half hour, got past that first guy like right off the beach, on the left past the first shrine, and he's like crouched there by the hut. And I run up there, and it's like, okay, so he kills me like immediately. I'm like, okay. So like I try it again. I finally kill him. All right, okay. So I go up this trail right past him, and then on the right there are two other guys like around a campfire, and then like another little hut with like a treasure chest inside. And so I run up to them, and naturally, the game is trying to teach you, now here's a 2v1 encounter. I run up there, die immediately. Okay, all right. So then I do it again. And this time, when I respawned, I decided to avoid them. I'm like, you know what? Let me just see how far I can go. So I just like avoided the combat, and I tried to like make my way through the little windy path into that like first little town area. Nope. Absolutely not. Suddenly it's like 3v1, 4v1. Like I didn't even know what happened before I died. And so that first experience, like I'm like 25 minutes in or half hour in, I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not doing this.
If I can stop you, Derek, I'll let you jump back. Before I forget, that is one of the things that I really did like about Neo, because it kept me from cheesing the game. So in Bloodborne, there were ways that you could, I cheese the enemies. So like I would go up onto a bridge, and there'd be one of these giant werewolf things. I'll figure it out that I can lead him down the stairs away from the bridge into this little house, but he can't get through the doorway. So he'll just be sitting there like running at me, stuck on the doorway, and I can just sit there and just, hack and slash him until he's dead and he can't touch. Well, I mean, he'll get his arm through occasionally, but yeah, he's like stuck on the door. I thought maybe I could try that with Neo. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll just find a way to pull these guys and lure them away. Maybe they'll stop. Nope. They do not stop following you. They chase your ass down. And you can't another thing that you could do in Bloodborne was like, say if there was I don't know. I remember one of the bosses, there was like a small little circle of rocks with some plants in it. And I could keep him on the other side of that circle, and my weapons were long enough where I could just keep doing damage to him, but stay on the other side of this little rock formation so he couldn't get to me, and I would just circle around. But you can't do that stuff with Neo. Like if you're by the wall, like there's instances where you can swing and your weapon will hit the wall. And you can't like attack them on the other side of something. You can't attack them through walls. So they clean that up. So there's like significantly less cheesy. I'm sure there'll be some way to do it, but I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, no, it's a game that basically tells you get good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and not even like get good quickly. It's just get good or you can't play.
Mm-hmm.
And so like after my initial experience with Neo, I talked to you about it briefly, because you had asked me like had I played it yet, because you hadn't. And I was like, yeah, I played it, but it's not really for me. And you were like, oh please, just play it, just stop it, and get good, basically. So I tried it again, and I really started understanding how you're supposed to play this type of game. Because I had played like Ninja Gaiden back in the day, like back on Xbox.
Right.
The original Xbox One, not the new Xbox One. And same kind of thing. Like I had fun with that. I was a fan of Dead or Alive. Played it with some friends. I think it was Dead or Alive 2 on which launched with PS2. I think that was it. Maybe that was Dead or Alive 1. I'm not entirely sure. So I was already a fan of Team Ninja, and it's like, oh yeah, they're doing this action game. Oh great. So I played that because you recognize the characters and it's fun. And again, like it kicks your ass very early on. That first boss battle, you'll know whether or not you can keep with the game. So like ever since then, I've kind of had this little aversion to Souls types games or Gaiden type games. So anyway, I stuck with Neo. I really learned how the combat worked, how the mechanics worked, how the timing worked, and always keeping your eye on your stamina bar.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And once you get like a different weapon, like once you get the big axe or the hammer, and once you get like some more armor, and you don't feel like you're gonna get one hit every time you turn a corner.
Yeah.
Once you can like kind of fight a little bit, where you can fail for a second without the risk of dying. Like then I kind of got into it, and I was able to clear out that first area to the next shrine. Not pretty easily, but I didn't struggle with it. I never died again. Which I felt like I try not to be the player who's like, oh, I keep dying. I hate this game. Even though like it's very easy.
Yeah.
Especially online. You play shooters online, and there are a lot of very good players. And if you're learning a game, it can be kind of a trial by fire.
Oh yeah.
What was it? There was oh man, Warhawk on PS3 was that game, where I swear it took hours just to learn how to play the game. Because there was I think there was a training mode, but there wasn't like a campaign. So it's all multiplayer, and you're just being thrown in with all these people who've been playing for a while. At least when I got the game, it had already been out for a couple months. So, like the learning curve was really steep.
Yeah.
But then once it all clicks, like you're just a terror in the sky, and it's awesome, and it's worth learning. And I think that a game like Warhawk, just like the Souls games and Neo specifically, like it is worth, if you've ever been frustrated like I have trying to make your way through these types of games, they are worth the pain. To play.
That's what's so great is you have this serious sense of accomplishment that I've not seen a lot in a lot of the modern games, especially like modern AAA games. There's a sense of accomplishment when you do get better, when you do make it to that next candle or lamp or shrine or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it's just that the game doesn't hold your hand, and so many games nowadays do. They just hold your hand, they make it easy, like it's more about just kind of going through the experience, and that's good and fine, but like, man, when I first really gave into Bloodborne, and you just, it kind of takes you back to Nintendo, like those old games, which when I have kids one day, I'm totally going to raise them on that to teach them the hard way. It kind of makes you feel like that, like where these games are hard. Like and I think a Bloodborne and those kind of games are very much like this, very much like those old games where you got to be good. Like it's a lot of skill, and once you learn and once you get good, then like Castlevania you can beat in like 2 hours, like on NES. But you gotta slowly increase in skill, get a little bit better, learn that timing, learn how to control the movement and the character and your weapon, the distance. And so Bloodborne and Neo and the Souls games, like, they kind of take me back to that, which I really, really, really love. And yeah, the sense of accomplishment when it does click and when you do get to that next shrine and stuff like that. Yeah, I absolutely love it.
I agree, because right now, especially the last few years, with like the rise of mobile replacing, so many other types of games, or just not even replacing, but becoming such a dominant force in the marketplace. Like Wii, the original Wii was a console, designed for a time where iPhones didn't exist. And that's why, like, a unique control scheme with the motion controller really kind of hooked audiences. And it's that audience, like the Nintendo DS did that as well, offering a second screen and a touch screen and all that. And a huge chunk of Nintendo's market, like, moved on to iPhone gaming and tablet gaming and all that. And I think right now, since the industry has changed so much over the last few years, and I swear it feels like it's changing dramatically every year. I've been following the industry rather closely for the last 11, 12 years.
Yeah.
And it's kind of remarkable how different things are. And right now, like, we have, the most popular games are in the habit, when they want to reward a player, they are flashing the screen with sparks and colors and slot machine graphics and cool sound effects, and you level up. Like Modern Warfare 2 is like the birth of the monster in a way, where it's like every kill, like, you might as well have won the lottery.
Man, slot machine gaming, that's really what it's becoming.
It encourages you to keep playing, because you want to level up. You're so close to that next level, and when that next level hits, you're going to be able to upgrade all your stuff and get better weapons and all this stuff. So they incentivize the level chasing, and then they doll it up with all these special effects and sound effects. And so to have a game genre that's doing so well with players right now, the Souls series, or the Souls genre, let's say, where they're not I was going to say color coding. They're not making it easy for you to feel rewarded. This isn't some, like, psychological experiment where you hit the button and you get a prize. That might be, like, if we want to deride Call of Duty a little bit, which I don't want to do, but they have, like, that multiplayer experience. And I only bring up COD because I've played a lot of it over the years. I'm just familiar with how they do things. You get a kill, you win a prize. Your screen explodes in color. In a game like Neo or Dark Souls, your reward is not having to run all the way back to where you died to get all your stuff. It reminds me, like, when I was in middle school, my friends and I, we played a lot of Ultima Online. And, like, that's
God bless, that takes me back.
A progenitor, man. Like, all you kids today, you grew up with World of Warcraft. I didn't have that. We had UO, and UO was brutal. And we played on one of those. Well, now I realize it was an illegal private server. I just thought it's where you played, right? I didn't think like 100 people played on the server, and I didn't know. Like I'm 12 or 13, and I'm just like, oh yeah, there's like 20 people who play this game. It's so popular. And that was a game where, like if you died, people could, because it's basically an MMO. If you died, people just loot your corpse. They take everything you had on you. Games like that really aren't made anymore. You grow up quickly. You grow up quickly when you start getting used to losing everything.
Well, the name of the game now is money, and you have to appeal to the widest audience you possibly can, and stuff like that just doesn't work.
No, people don't like losing their progress.
Yeah, for a developer or publisher to make the most money possible, they have to appeal to as many people as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if a game is too hard or it's too challenging, then it's not going to make money.
So it is. So to me, it is a little refreshing and a little bit, nostalgic in a way.
Yeah.
To see a game that is quote unquote hardcore enough, to like make you work for it. Like I said, your reward is not dying. It's getting better, getting better gear, leveling up, and not dying.
Yeah, and I really love that about From Software with with what they've done with this with the Soul series and Bloodborne and all that. I love that they've been willing to take the risk and that they weren't out there trying to make a game for the masses, but they made something that they're passionate about, something that this small group adores. And thank goodness, like I'm so happy that they've done so well with it. Because it just goes to show other developers that you don't have to make these games. You don't have to hold hands. You don't have to play the game, so to speak, to get as many sales as possible.
The success of Souls and Bloodborne, I think, really caught a lot of people off guard.
Yeah.
And I think it's great. And I personally think that, gamers, by and large, love giving new experiences a chance.
Mm-hmm.
What turns them off quickly is when the thing that makes it new feels like a gimmick. It feels like it was slapped on, like it wasn't part of the core fundamentals of that game design.
Yeah.
That's where I think you start losing respect from the game community. That's why, motion controls they popped real early, and then now it's like, oh, please don't get that gimmick shit out of here.
That 6-axis controller.
Hey, they should have just kept the boomerang.
Oh,
you remember that when they first showed off
the
DualShock 3 controller for the PS3, and it was like a batarang. They could have just flung it around the E3 conference hall, and actually they should have. It would have been more impressive than what they showed. I remember the first time Sony showed off Warhawk at their at one of those early PS3 convention or press conferences, and the guy demoing Warhawk, he had the motion controls on, and it looked like he was in Luigi's Mansion, like he was wrangling with the controller, and it's just like, what are you doing? And then you compare that to like every other game that came before it where you just move the stick, And I'm not saying don't have motion controls or don't pursue that. But when you can do something more simply, more efficiently with a button press, then you're not really convincing me or others why we should be using motion control to play your game. You need to add on to it. I think Splatoon is a good example of that. Splatoon is, oh my gosh, it's crazy. In Japan, it is now apparently the most successful new IP since the Wii franchise launch. And the Wii franchise includes Wii Sports, Wii Play, Wii Music, Wii Sports Resorts, that series.
Wow.
Wii Party. It is the biggest IP in Japan.
I had not heard that. That's insane.
It's new. It's like the last week or so. And with Splatoon, I think that's a great example of how to use motion controls right. Because you can turn them off, right? Splatoon is completely playable without motion controls. But the benefit to turning them on is that you can fine-tune your aiming with the crosshairs. And you can move a little faster. So it definitely rewards you for putting in the effort. And to me, like, that's worth adding on and promoting. That is not a gimmick.
Cool.
Like, on the flip side, we can talk about, like, Star Fox Zero using motion controls the way it does. And like Star Fox, I played at E3 last year. I was honestly because I was hanging out outside of the Nintendo booth the first day of the conference before it opened. So I may have actually been the first person to play Star Fox at E3. because I was standing there and the guy who was at the kiosk was like, you want to play? Like, we got 10, 15 minutes before it's open. Like, what else are you doing? And maybe that only happens during the first day, because every other day of E3, like it gets pretty strict. Like, security doesn't like you getting anywhere near booths before it's officially open. But that first day, it's a little hectic. So I think maybe that guy was a little lenient, or maybe he didn't care. Anyway, so he kind of guided me through Star Fox Zero, which has the basically the double screen approach, where you can control the reticle, the crosshairs, with the gamepad to be more fine-tuned for fine-tuned aiming while you're flying around, and then you can check the TV or the monitor to see like where you are within the world. And so like during the boss battle at the end of that first mission that I played, where you're kind of on a general course, like it's not on rails once you get to the boss battle. So you kind of have to control it to circle around the boss, and then you use the gamepad to move the crosshairs in order to have the fine-tuned fire.
Yeah.
But the problem with Star Fox compared to Splatoon, in my opinion, I have not played the retail release, right? I'm going to completely dismiss this game.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. I didn't know if you ever got to it, or if you'd heard if they had tweaked the controls at all for the final product, for the final game.
I've not heard. I have not played it in a year. But from 10 minutes, I played the full demo. Believe me, from 10 minutes, it felt too much like, it felt unneeded, for one. It felt completely not detached from the concept of the game. I do think the game was designed with this kind of fundamentally ingrained in it, but the motion control stuff. But to me, like, I didn't get anything out of it, and it made it more complicated than the series had been up to that point. Like, I really like Star Fox 64, and it has its challenge as well. When the controls become part of the challenge,
yeah,
I can't approve of that. And that may be a controversial opinion right now, as I know that Star Fox Zero is a divisive game. But from the 10 minutes, like 10 minutes was enough for me. If it had more traditional, a more traditional gameplay style, I might not be so against it, because I'm a big fan of the series. I have for a long time. I've been waiting a long time for the next Star Fox to pop up.
Haven't we all?
But like, for me, this was not it.
Yeah.
So I think there's a way you can do it right. In my opinion, Star Fox Zero is not the way to do it. But Splatoon is, right. You can glom onto these gimmicks, and they can be implemented really well. Like with Move, right? With PlayStation Move, you have something that feels like, at the time when Move was initially announced and shown off, it felt like Sony was just playing catch up with Nintendo.
Yeah.
Now, cut to like 6-8 years later, with PSVR on the horizon, where Move is now a very good control method for virtual reality. And maybe they were planning that far in advance. I don't know. Maybe just the timing of when it was revealed to the public was like a counter to Nintendo's success. Or maybe, like Move is a great controller. Like I played around with it a bunch when it launched, and there's some good stuff there. It's really accurate. I mean, Nintendo had to release the Wii Motion Plus attachment and then embed that tech into all the new controllers going forward, because they just didn't have an accurate enough controller.
Yeah.
So competition is great, but it feels like Move died rather quickly. Or maybe the support from Sony was just kind of cut off. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the sales were like. I know they didn't have Kinect-like sales back then. Kinect kind of just roared out of the gate and sold a lot of units. But again, they didn't necessarily have the software to really support the tech. They still don't from Microsoft. But but now with VR on the horizon, to have that kind of control scheme back, like that's pretty exciting. And I hope that going forward, it's all about the implementation and not the gimmick, right? If that makes sense.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's what's so exciting about VR is it just looks, there's going to be so much they can do with it, and it's a whole new experience. Oh my God, I can't even begin to explain how excited I am. Just thinking about all the games that we have seen, the stuff that you got to experience at E3, where it's not, man, it's not just some cheesy add-on to what you're doing. It's a whole new experience.
Yeah,
and that is what I'm looking forward to most this year. Is, man, the stuff that we've played and seen and watched. I want that so bad. I want that new experience. I want to be 100% immersed in these game worlds.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. And this stuff is tremendously exciting. So why don't we take a break for a second? And when we come back, let's talk about E3.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Our expectations, our hopes, our fears, our preliminary disappointment as a Nintendo fan. But anyway, so let's take a break and we'll get back with E3.